Hi, folks. I'm Nick Marsh from Tree. So I'm coming to you from Tasmania, Lutruwita, the home of the Palawa people. Pay our respects to elders past, present, and emerging. So welcome. Big day for Trui, launch of Natural Capital Impact. It's been a long time coming, um, this particular product. But before we get into Natural Capital Impact, I'll give you a bit of background perspective on where it fits into this broader natural capital suite range of products that we've been developing and releasing. Started a month ago, and we'll keep doing for the next few months. So, Natural Capital Suites, a series of integrated web applications, and ultimately, it's about being able to better engage corporate Australia with investing in the nature repair market. So it's a series of different web apps to help facilitate that interaction. So those of you around over the last month, we had the launch of Natural Capital Region. So this is for regional planning, investment prioritisation. We're trying to work out what to do and where to do it. The next product that we'll release early next year is going to be Natural Capital Project. So this is about designing projects at a farm scale, so revegetation work, riparian work, or preservation work, being able to capture all the natural capital benefits of that. And then following close on the heels of Natural Capital Project will be market. So those projects are able to pitch and present those to a public-facing marketplace to effectively advertise that as a potential investment option. And then after that, we've got natural capital account. So this is at a farm level. So for individual farmers to be able to represent their traditional kind of productive agricultural activities, grazing and cropping, in conjunction with their nature repair related activities to present their overall natural capital accounts. So this is to help facilitate their supply chain reporting, their scope 3 reporting, or access to green finance for good land custodians. So they're the four other products in this suite, but today's all about natural capital impact. This is really about being able to communicate and tell your story about all the great work that you're doing on the ground. And ultimately, this kind of facilitates this interaction between the corporate side of the nature repair market and the delivery side. So being able to communicate what great deliverers you guys are. And Tori's going to run today's show. Has designed all these wonderful apps. So it's been around with us since forever. And the interfaces you see, they're all Tori's magic. I'll hand it over to you, Tori, to run the show.
Okay, thank you, Nick. I assume my audio is on. Yep, good. Thanks everybody for joining us today for the launch of Natural Capital Impact, aka my baby. Um, Today I'm just going to go through with you a bit of background on how we got here in making Natural Capital Impact. And then I'm going to do some demonstrations for you of reports or interactive reports that we've created with Natural Capital Impact, the very easy steps to create such a thing, and then tell you about what's happening next. So background, as anyone who knows Nick and we've been doing this modeling and environmental reporting for a really long time. I designed one of the very first concepts for a Great Barrier Reef report card about close to 20 years ago, which makes me feel incredibly old. But yeah, so Nick and I have in recent years, or well, for a very long time, we've been creating these web apps, but over the last close to a decade, we've been doing it under the guise of Trui. And during that time, we have created a whole bunch of bespoke apps for clients mostly. So for instance, Nick tends to be the brains behind the modeling apps, and I tend to cover the public reporting apps. So we have worked with the Great Barrier Reef report card and the Healthy Waterways Strategy report card we have developed. And we have developed the Natural Resources Inventory for Queensland, the Queensland's Urban Water Explorer. So these are all very data visualization rich reporting apps. So I'm just going to go through a couple of those with you, just so you can see how we got to where we are now. So first of all, back in, I want to say it was 2018, I think, Nissa, maybe 2018, 2019, 2018. The Office of the Great Barrier Reef contacted us about creating an interactive report card for reef water quality on the Great Barrier Reef, that is. So I'm going to share my screen now. So this is the Reef Water Quality Report Card. It reports progress towards the Reef 2050 water quality targets. It is a combination of targets within the catchment for water quality parameters, catchment management and land management, as well as reef and wetland condition elements. So we've got that current status and we've got that progress to targets. It has a whole bunch of spatial locations that need to be reported on, nested. So if I can go okay here, I can zoom down into the Burdekin and I can see what the results for the Burdekin are, or for the Fitzroy catchment there. And I can also, if I go back to the Burdekin, I can then zoom down into the details of indicators. So I have that very high level view, and then we zoom down into the detail of indicators. So for instance, this is DIN. I can see the progress towards the long-term target. I've got information about my results. I've got some highlights of what's happening along with the primary results. Quickly to go to another one. If I was to go to sugarcane, this is progress towards sugarcane management targets, management practice targets. And there are sub-indicators involved here, so we can drill down even deeper. I can see more details of nutrient management. So we've got this design pattern, which is called progressive disclosure, which if anybody's heard me speak before would have heard me harp on about this, but it's a way of being able to show high-level information for the people who just want that quickly, for your, for your politicians or your managers, or the general public. And then for the scientists or the practitioners who want more detail, they can then delve deeper within an indicator and also spatially. Okay, so that's the Reef Water Quality Report Card. Now I'm going to move on to now I will just preface, before I move on to the next one, I will just say, so this project came to us with a completely evolved reporting structure and framework, and we knew exactly what we were doing, and we knew exactly what we needed to report where. Now move on to the Healthy Waterways strategy for Port Phillip and Western Port, and I know that a few of the folks who worked on this with me are in the room today. Now this was a different adventure altogether, but with, in the end, a very similar outcome. So in the Healthy Waterways Strategy Report Card, we are reporting on over 1,000 performance objectives, things like establishing vegetation buffers, protecting and maintaining quality vegetation, harvesting stormwater, and community things like increasing access to waterways and increasing participation in waterways. So these guys have over 1,000 performance objectives to report on. And when they came to us and said, hey, we want something like the Reef Water Quality Report, we said, okay. And we went on this very big adventure because they didn't have this solid framework in place. And there was a lot of working together on working out how we might report this incredibly large number of individual objectives. In the end, what we ended up with is something not so dissimilar from the Reef Water Quality Report Card. Again, we have these indicators like established buffers, and we have spatial locations that we need to report in. We have groups, in this case, vegetation. There are multiple performance objectives under vegetation. We have this same form of progressive disclosure where we can zoom down into an indicator and a location and get more detailed information. So here we see this is the progress towards the performance objective across the Dandenong catchment. And then we can go down again into the lower subcatchments and see the results for that. We can also go in and get tabular data, download that data, have information about how these things are tracked and how it was monitored. But all that information doesn't need to be right up front, right? So we've got this high level view for those people who just want to get a snapshot. And then we've got this ability for the people who want more detail to get to it, but without overwhelming everybody. So we have, from creating these two apps, let me go back to a snapshot. From creating these two applications and the other reporting applications that we have created, we basically learned that there are standard components, and the primary components are indicators or measures, which is basically the things you care about, and locations. And so everything kind of revolves around that. And then I've told you about the progressive disclosure. And then along with the indicators and the locations and the results for those, we want to be able to do things like include additional charts for supporting information. So if I take you to, here we go, into the Reef Water Quality Report, here we've got our main results, but then there's also, there's some additional information that could provide context for this thing. Same goes with if I go back up to the top level, this being able to show highlights and being able to show this sort of supporting information that describes results. So these are patterns that we used in a whole load of places. Now, the thing about these applications, these bespoke applications, is they're really, really expensive and really time consuming to create. So over the years, we have had a whole bunch of people approach us on about saying, hey, I want something like the Reef Water Quality Report Card. Apologies to any reef folks in here who might have a bit of PTSD from the Reef Water Quality Report Card. That's okay. We respect you and understand. But it really is, it's a really expensive exercise, and most people can't afford it. Most organizations can't afford it, especially not the NRMs and the CMAs, who are a lot of the people who are wanting this kind of product. But for a long time, Nick and I had been talking about this need to be able to create something which reduces the cost of creating an engaging, interactive product like this, and making it more accessible for the smaller organizations. So last year, would have been a year ago, we were contacted by the Corangamite Catchment Management Authority, and they asked us, they said, we would like a Healthy Waterways report card. And we said, well, we're very sorry, but you can't afford it, in the nicest possible way. And then not long after that, another group that we were doing a different app for said we would like a report card. And we thought, maybe this is it. Maybe now's the time to do this, to create this thing. And we have users who we can use as use cases, and we are very user experience focused. We like to do lots of user research when we create things, and it's much easier to develop something when you have people who actually want to use it and know what they want to use it for. So a year ago, we decided, let's put it all on the line and put all of our energy and funds into creating this thing that is going to make life easier for others. And us as well in the long run. So that is what we did. We created Natural Capital Impact, which is this interactive report creating app. We started off by we started off with 3 pilot clients. So that was Corangamite, as I mentioned, the University of Queensland and their Reef Rescue Program, which is an international program, and the Desert Channels Queensland NRM. And we basically had an agreement. We got to interview them and find out all their user needs and then use their user needs to design and create this thing. We spent a lot of time brainstorming in a room over what the design might look like. And eventually we got there. And it's a lot, making a generalized solution where other people can create their own reports is a lot more difficult than creating even a bespoke app like the water quality report card or the healthy waterways report card, where that have content management systems, but trying to create something that'll work for lots of different people in lots of different circumstances is a much bigger deal. But after lots of iterations of design and building for a significant amount of time and still building, our development team is still building. Shout out to Zach and Thomas and Lockie if they're here. But we now have something that we can show you. So first off, I'm going to show you our first pilot client. I will preface all of this by saying most of what I'm about to show you is not based on real data. So we have used mock data. So unless I tell you this is absolutely 100% real data, just assume it's not. So the first cab off the rank is the Moorabool catchment report card, which is for the Corangamite CMA, who are a very valued pilot client of ours. And they are actually in the process of creating their real, this is the test version of their report card, and they are in the process of creating their real report card now. So they have a mix of management targets. So for instance, for revegetation, and then they also have a mix of condition elements, so that they just want to report what's the status of platypus, what's the status of macroinvertebrates or water quality. But whereas with revegetation, it's like, well, we have a 5-year plan and we have this amount of revegetation that we want to get to, and we would like to report on our activities. So the Moorabool has, you can see at the top here, the Moorabool has 4 subcatchments, and these are all of our indicators, which you can see right here. So I'll just take you down a bit further. I'll show you as well. We have this similar design pattern where we've got that more information if we need it, but it's not upfront and clouding everything. So I'll go back to the chart view. We'll go down into, here's a revegetation, non-riparian revegetation target. We've got the target line up here. So we've got 178 hectares that we want to get for 2025. This is a cumulative chart. So we can see we're not quite at the target, but good enough to get an A result. This particular report card is very good, moderate, poor, very poor in its grading. We've got some little widgets down here that we can show highlights. So that we've done this many hectares of woody veg, and then we can add about the results information. I'll take you to another one. So if I go to, here we've got flow here, and here we can see we can add we've got some contextual information. This is just daily rainfall. It probably would have been better if it was flow discharge, but that's okay for the demonstration. So we can see here, over on the map, we can see the different subcatchment results. So we've got a C over here, Moorabool River. The flow is very poor. Okay. I can also show you in water quality here that we've got a phosphorus sub-indicator that we want to look at, and we can see here that we've got some gauge data for phosphorus as a context chart. So I think that's probably sufficient to show you here, although I could show you some of the some of the other widgets that we have. So we've got the what's being done. I should have worked out where they all were properly. We can also add photographs. I believe that's someone from Melbourne Water in that photograph, so don't tell anyone. More photographs. And then we have the ability to add links to case studies within your website from there as well. So I'm going to just very quickly show you how this is set up. So to show you how anyone can create their own interactive report with natural capital impact. So this is the back end. And basically there are 6 steps to take to create a report card. We set up the reporting, add the locations, choose your indicators, upload your data, add your content, and publish. So if I go to the report card setup, theoretically, you should only ever have to do this once, this report card setup. I'm not going to go into all the details of this today because I'm doing another follow-up session next week where I will take step by step exactly how to do everything within the system. But just very quickly, it's a highly customizable app. So we'll start off. We've got theme information. So you've got styling. You can just choose sort of a single highlight color that would be representative of your brand. You've got logo information, header information. You can choose to show a header or not a header. You can choose your layout, which side you want your map on, how big you want your map. And importantly, we have, you can define your reporting. And so currently we have 3 reporting types. So discrete, where we have multiple different categories like A, B, C, D, E, but they could be anything you want. And we can change the colors so you don't have to have a traffic light scheme if you don't want to. I know some people become a bit offended by the traffic light scheme, so there's definitely lots of options there. So that is where we're able to go, okay, well, if it's greater than or if the value is greater than or equal to 80, then it gets an A. Okay, and so when you upload your data, the system will recognize the data and grade accordingly, although we can overwrite that kind of stuff as well. We also have continuous grading, which basically is just a gradient from 0 to 100 of continuous scoring. And then we have change, which basically measures increase, decrease, or no change. And that's it, rather than giving some people are not so keen on adding judgment to their results. And that's okay. We're trying to allow for that as well. And then there's the ability to add additional reporting categories where there's no data or different things. So then we add the locations. Excuse me if my internet is going a bit slow. No doubt it will mess up at some point. You upload your own GeoJSON file of your locations that you want reported. They could be nested. We can move them around. We can add additional information. So for instance, here we've added for each catchment, we have some contextual information about the catchment itself, about the land uses in that catchment and how big the area is. And you can see here that whenever you're on a particular catchment, you'll get the different information down there. Okay. Okay. So that's it. You're adding your locations. And of course you can add what kind of base map you want to, just for looks. And then this is where we add our indicators. So we can create indicators, we move them around, we can nest them as sub-indicators or not. We can have groups of indicators. We've got different types of indicators. So we've got conditions, we've got target indicators, which allow you to have that target line and do your progress, or your things like your condition, which might just be for a current status. Or a status through time. Then we've got context indicators, which would be like those context charts I showed you. And then there's another thing called an alert indicator, which I'll show you in a bit when it comes to the Reef Rescue site. So within an indicator, they're highly customizable. You've got supporting information, which can appear in the little behind the primary results. So you can get that additional info. You can rename your panels. You can, let's move to one. Oh, that's a group. You can have different names. You can do your URLs. You can decide on the type of visualization you want. You can override grading thresholds at your at the indicator level. You can apply confidence to that result. If you're not very confident in something, that's okay. It's good to put it out there and it's good to be open about that. And then we can decide how to display the primary results and what happens with panels at all different sort of spatial scales across the system. So that's set up reporting, add locations, define your indicators. So once all that's done, we can see the full structure of the site, and every indicator and location will automatically have a page created for it. Okay. But once that's set up, unless you want to go and change your indicators or add new locations or whatever, you really shouldn't need to touch that whole top section again. And so year to year, when you're updating your results, all you should really need to do is go to this content section. And within the content section, this is our list of all of our data sets. It is spreadsheet data, CSVs, it's simple format. So if I go in here to riparian management, I can see I've got my locations, I've got the year of the data, the value associated with that result, and the target for that result. And then I've also got this ability to override grades, which is nice and flexible. We do have a single in the Reef Rescue site. We have a customization, which allows a connection to a remote source. That kind of thing will be available in the future, but will generally be specific customizations, as that can be quite complicated. So that would be, automating, say, daily data or something from an automated connection. I go back here. So you go through and you edit all of your data sets, upload. Everything comes with a default data set, so you'll always see some kind of result when you first create it. And then we can see here, this is all the pages. So every indicator and every location, unless we've turned some off, will have a page, and we can go and edit a page's content. Excuse my internet. So in this case, my page level content, I can go and add, look at my results, add some interpretation about my results. I can then go and add some widgets. So I've got a highlight here about rehabilitation of orange-bellied parrot habitat, and that's something I've created elsewhere. Okay, back to this bit. There's a few other things that I can show, but I can show that next week. Just the ability to have exceptions where you can override what it says on a page and not have results, things like that. And then the final step, once you've got all your data in and your content, is to publish the report. And you can either do that as an individual, like a standalone link, like we've got here, or there's an embed code, so you could embed it within your own website, if that works for you. So that's the general overview of how you create it. I think it's pretty easy, but I'm biased, and I also think it's actually really fun. And I'm going to show you some of the other ones that we've made now, so you can see how much fun we've been having with it, and just so you can see a bit of the variety. Okay, so first off, the Queensland Desert Channels, NRM. These guys are keen for a report card. They have a whole bunch of key values within their region, and then they have a whole bunch of activities that they do to support those key values. So one of their big key values is Artesian Springs. So if I will show that on the map there, but if I can go deeper into the Artesian Springs, I can see, well, this is the condition of those Artesian Springs through time. And there's also a whole bunch of different sub-indicators with Artesian Springs that I can then delve into as well. But we've got about the results, and we've got some headline figures again. And this is one of our little case study links, so we can link to some of the work that they're doing on their website. So Artesian Springs, and then I'm going to go back. And as another example, I'm going to go pest animal eradication because everybody loves that, right? Here we have pest animal eradication across the region, and here's a context chart that has the presence of feral animals as context across the region. And then I can show you here when we move to the different locations, how nice that is, and we've got that detail at each sub-location. So that is Queensland Desert Channels. Next, this is our another one of our pilot clients. So this again is a work in progress, but is the International Coral Reef Rescue report card. So we've got countries all across the world. We've got if they look weird on the map, it's because we've got their economic zones around them to make that a little easier for selection. Okay, so we've got some worldwide reef metrics, so water temperature, sediment pollution, macroalgae cover, and hard coral cover. And this example uses the change grading scheme. So rather than having A, B, C, or D, it says, is this thing increasing or decreasing? And so it's a little bit less judgmental, I suppose. I've got water temperature going here. I'm going to go deeper into water temperature. Select Indonesia here, and then I have a whole bunch of reefs in here. I'm going to select the Bird's Head Reef, and here I can see an example of, this is one of our alert indicators. Now this is a data-driven indicator. We are connecting to Coral Reef Watch daily data from NOAA, and each day in this location, this data will update, and it will display what the Coral Reef Watch warning is. Okay, we'll go there. And what else have we got in here? Let me just go to, oh, no, I don't have that data. Okay, so that's a few of our pilot client report cards, but just to be able to show you, I guess, just how flexible this system is. So we can literally report anything. It doesn't have to be environmental. It doesn't have to be anything in that sphere. It doesn't have to be a big region. It doesn't have to be worldwide locations. It can be a tiny, tiny area, and it can be whatever you want. So for a bit of fun, I am going to show you the report card I made for my dog, Roman. So this is Roman's report card, and is Roman a good boy or a naughty boy is the question that we're asking with this report card. You can see here that the locations, we've got inside the house, in the front yard, and then in the street with many dogs. And you can see he's particularly naughty in the street with many dogs. So I'm just going to go back to Roman's world, which is those 3 locations. I'm going to take you down into some of the indicators. So here we go. This is a condition indicator. It's about his recall. His recall is pretty terrible. This is how many fetches he does a day. These are the interpretation of the results. We can see he's stolen 549 socks. And we probably need a bit of a link to go and see how to train him properly. We've also got some targets here for Roman. So we can see he's pretty good at high fives, especially, across the board, really, really good at high fives. There he is. He's the new sheriff in town. in his cowboy hat, and this is a little picture of him as a puppy just to show off. So from here, I'll just go to the barking one, and we can again see the highlights and the lowlights of how many passers-by he has terrorized. But if we go to the street with many dogs, we'll see it's a big fail every single time. But in this case, this one is the grading scheme is discrete. We've got good boy, we've got naughty boy, we've got work in progress or not applicable. So, and just this tiny location. So this is, a demonstration to show you that it can really be used for anything. And what we've been finding as we use it more and more is it's really, really flexible, and it will become more flexible in future. So with that, I'm going to tell you what's happening next. So in the new year, we will be adding more functionality. So more charts, potentially some more mapping features. So to deal with points and lines, we certainly have a long wish list of things we'd like to do with this app. It won't all happen overnight, but it will happen, as they say. And we'll be doing things like, more layouts. So potentially things like we have on Healthy Waterways strategy, where you've got all the indicator details in a single page, that kind of thing. And also in the new year, we are going to be building the next Great Barrier Reef water quality report card with this app. We'll be doing some enhancements for them as well. And then next week, which is a lot sooner, I'm going to be going through step by step how to create a report card from scratch with the app. So that's that. And then I'll just finish up by letting you know how you can get involved with Natural Capital Impact. Basically, you just need to contact us you can go to the truey.com website, or you can go to the naturalcapitalsuite.au website and contact us via there. What we will do initially, particularly in this first year or so, we will be holding hands with the folks who want to create a report card. We'll walk you through it. We will help you create that to begin with. We won't wrangle your data for you or choose your indicators for you, but we will certainly give our advice on what based on our experience. But yeah, so with that, I hope that what we've done is a way that to help organisations spend more time and money worrying about the things they care about, working out what they are, and working and collating their data, and less time and money trying to engage in some kind of activity to be able to create a great reporting output. And we're hoping that we've covered that with Natural Capital Impact. Thank you.